welcome to the Ultimate Tribute Band Podcast. My name is Roger, and I'm very excited to get this episode underway. Season 2 is up and running, and we couldn't be more excited. And we couldn't be more excited to kick this off with really what is one of my levels to attain in the world of tribute bands. This is a band that I knew about. Before I knew about tribute bands, I knew about this band. And so when I started the tribute band, I definitely used them as one of my templates of how to do this and how I thought this should work. So I'm very honored. I'm very appreciative that he's able to give us some time here from DSB, which is the world's greatest Journey tribute band. This is founder, lead singer, Juan Del Castillo. Juan, thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure, Roger. I don't even know after an intro like that, what am I going to say?
That's it. We'll wrap it up. Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Yeah. Good night. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I mean that absolutely sincerely, dude. I did not know much about tributes when we got ours up and running, or just were even thinking about it. But I knew there was a few that were worth checking out, and you were absolutely one of the first ones I checked out. And I think it's really important. This is a great episode because you guys check so many boxes, but there's one very distinct box, if you don't mind me saying, that you do not check in the world of tribute.
I know exactly what it is.
In the world of tribute bands, and you probably know where I'm going to go with that. And we're going to touch on that for sure, because I think this is important for people watching and listening to touch on. Give me the background of DSB. If you want to give me your background personally first and kind of take me through how it happened, but take me through how we arrived at DSB.
Wow. Well, I mean, I don't want to go too far back.
I was born in
history. Yeah. No, but I mean, just like any musician in LA, you're trying to find your gig, you're trying to find your niche, your corner of such a wide landscape of people, trying to do their original music, just trying to work. And if you're not having to supplement your income and can make it solely based on what you love to do, then that's kind of the goal for everybody. I think everybody that moves to LA to come and do that, that's the genesis of it all. So, you could go anywhere in LA and you're going to find cover bands all over the place. And truthfully, DSB was a merger of members from a tribute band and then a cover band. And for the cover band, it was exciting to not have to pay to play 4 sets a night. Right. And for guys in the tribute band, we kind of had it figured out and kind of see where we could go with it. So when we merged back in 2008, late 2008, the vision was always, like many businesses, you have a mission statement, and our mission statement was always to play the music of Journey in a live setting with integrity and accuracy. And I think when it comes to, it's important for a band to have a vision when you're starting, because that way everyone can jump on board and buy in, and then all the wheels of the vehicle are moving at the same time.
So just so I'm clear, so there was 2 bands that came together. One was a tribute to Journey.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the other one was a cover band, straight up doing variety of music for a lot of things.
Exactly.
So some members came together, and
that's right.
So, and this is, and we're also going to touch on the fact that 2024 is going to be the 15th anniversary for DSB.
I can't believe it.
Time flies, man.
It really does. It really does.
So you were going back 15 years, and obviously you had a tribute happening a little bit even before that. So how long was that tribute going before DSB?
Well, technically, I started in the tribute scene back in 2006. So it wasn't, you had the Led Zeppelins, you had the Queen Nations at that time. They were pretty solid. So it was easy for me to kind of look at the landscape and see, okay, this is where we could go. Where can we find our niche? Where can we find our corner? And inevitably, with a lot of drive and a lot of persistence, you can finally start to align with those paths that these other bands have taken. But when it comes to how I got involved, I started. I had never even heard of a tribute band, and honestly, when I went to an audition, I answered an ad on Craigslist looking for a singer for a Journey tribute band. I go in, I prepared a couple songs, and I sang the songs and got the job on the spot. But I was a little hesitant because I'm like, are you going to make me put on the wig and the coattails? Because I don't know that I necessarily want to do that. And they're like, no. We're about the music. were about what people remember. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me even 15 years later, actually, technically 18 years later, because it started in 2006. But even 18 years later, it's like, that's been my mantra. It's about, Journey's played on the radio 6 to 8 times in many major markets across the United States and truthfully in part of the world. And what people remember are the way those songs were done, not the way Journey dressed or the way they looked.
Right.
It's very different from being a Kiss tribute or being a Van Halen tribute, because in that scenario, some of the way they looked, it was very iconic. Versus Journey didn't really have an iconic look, even though Steve Perry did have some isms or some things that are attributed to him. For us, our idea was always to just stay true to the music. And if we played the music the way people remember it, the way they heard it on the radio, then we figured that would lend itself to a path to success.
Well, I mean, that kind of took every question I was going to ask regarding the box that was unchecked. So, but you know what? No, I think it's important if we can kind of stay on that specific aspect a little bit. I think you're 100% right. I think Steve Perry, although he has a specific look, and I guess you can make the argument that Neil Schon and the other guys have a look, but their look was very 80s, 70s, 80s oriented. So a lot of bands look like them. Steve Perry has a look, but let's face it, it's about his voice. And
always has been.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why I think that would be the requirement. If I'm auditioning for a Journey tribute and I'm looking for a lead singer, it's going to be about the voice before it's going to be about his look. And so obviously you guys had a very clear understanding that it was not going to be about going with a wig and the tails and the leopardy shirt and all that kind of stuff. And you didn't go that way. You made it about the music specifically. And
that's not to disparage any other bands that do that. Like I was saying with Journey, they're a band that's still out touring. They just had their 50th anniversary tour. They're touring again this year. Their look has continued to change, but for many bands, their look was frozen in time when they dissolved.
Yeah.
And therefore they didn't keep changing. So I think if you come to a DSB show and you see us up on stage performing the music of Journey, we're kind of dressed, I guess, similar to what Journey wears, because they just wear modern, contemporary sort of rock looks, which is what we sport as well.
Now, when it comes to the music itself, are you guys, I mean, I've seen you multiple times and I think a lot of folks have seen you. So they know that musically you're nailing the sound, but was there a specific, game plan there where we're doing the album version that people know, we're doing a concert version, we're doing a hybrid, or did it evolve over time?
Well, let's take a step back in order to answer that question effectively. For instance, I got to go back. I mean, the name of the show is the Ultimate Tribute Podcast, right? So obviously you're very clear on what tribute bands are. However, for a lot of the audience that's listening, or maybe I get this question all the time. That's why I'm going to answer it this way. What's the difference between a cover band and a tribute band? A cover band will play songs that people know and bring their own element to it. They're going to change the arrangement. They're going to change the instrumentation. They're going to infuse their musicianship into it into a way that maybe sometimes does the song justice and maybe it doesn't. As a tribute band, it's like I said before, our motto was always integrity and accuracy. So we are slaving over trying, maybe that's not the right word, but we're really focusing on mimicking the patches on the keyboard, the tones of the guitar, the reverbs and the delays on the vocals. Those are all things we labor over. And I think even though we don't dress the part, like many people find that to be a qualification, like you said, the box that we leave unchecked, to me, that's not what makes a tribute band. What makes a tribute band is how devoted they are to paying tribute to the artist that they are representing. And so for us, it's always been about, the record. The record is paramount. We try and do the arrangements that are on the record the way people do them. And we kind of joke sometimes because as musicians, as lifelong career musicians, there are some mistakes kind of, or things that slip through in the final mixes and stuff. And we play those too.
Right.
We play those too because that's what's on the record. And to me, that really defines, I think it leaves it very clear as to why we consider ourselves a tribute band or, we're in that category. Although tribute has its own negative connotations as well, and that's why we've kind of tried to separate ourselves by saying that we're a legacy show or a legacy tribute or a legacy band.
Right.
That's how we like to put it.
Yeah, and I don't want any of this to ever come off as saying because you don't go full blown on the look that somehow that takes away from who you are. I think if somebody was doing an Eagles tribute or a Doobie Brothers tribute or a Steely Dan tribute, how you look is non-essential. It's going to be how you.
I agree.
It's going to be how you sound, because the fans.
I agree.
They lock into the sound of those bands, and honestly, Journey is a sound probably more than it is a look, and so there's no need. There's no look. You guys are killing it, so obviously it's not a factor, and I don't think that that's anything that anybody has to get hung up on. As a matter of fact, that's the point I wanted to bring up was you can be elite. You can be top tier. You can be gigging. I'm sure you turn down shows. Your calendar is getting full enough, or is full enough. So it's not about having to be the look, but you better nail the sound in order to be the true tribute.
I think that there's when it comes to an inventory to success for a band at our level, I think number one is get the music stuff right. Get that done. Spend the time. Because the nice thing about tribute bands is that it's not very often that there's a lot of new music to kind of, work through. Although Journey's put out records lately, their biggest hits is what rules their playlist now, or their set list, as we like to call it. But get the music stuff down and then focus on the business. They coexist. And that's why I think it's so important to have that vision. But once you have that stuff down, then it's about shaping and creating the path that you want to embark on.
And the show,
what I'm saying?
Having seen your show, it's a show. And it's truly a tribute to Journey. I mean, it's very much I would call I usually use the word love letter on ours a lot. I go, this is a love letter to Huey Lewis and the News. You guys is a love letter to Journey because it's phenomenal music that you guys are literally paying tribute to. And I think that the detail that you just spoke about musically, I think also translates to just the overall production of the show. I don't think I've ever seen a show that doesn't, one of yours, that doesn't just have a beautiful rhythm and flow to it. I know thought goes into the way you arrange the songs and put the sets together. And maybe you can touch on that a little bit. Just the way you stage and produce the show itself. I know you're LA, you started in LA, you live in Vegas now.
I do, right.
And how did that side of the show come together? Again, was there like a real clear vision, or was it?
This is my favorite part. Because Good. Here's the thing: we started the band because, like I said before, as musicians, you're trying to find your niche and so forth. But bottom line is, we're fans. We're fans of Journey. And here's the deal: as fans, we kind of open the doors to letting the fans decide how we put our shows together. There's a concept because we've already done the musical part of it and we know it like the back of our hands. We know frontwards and backwards, as you guys do as well. Every minute that I'm on stage, every second that I'm on stage, I'm literally just accepting feedback the entire time. So if I'm like, I think these songs should go together, but if we do them and they don't go over well, then that's direct feedback and that changes the next show. So while it seems like I'm not going to sit here and take credit for the way our show develops or the way it's produced. I mean, obviously there are elements that I initiate and push forward, but ultimately the show is a fan's show, and it's crafted in a way where we're taking the sometimes immediate feedback, or sometimes even I'll get messages after a show. Oh, I was really hoping you guys would play this, or leading up to a show, can you guys play this? And I'm sure you get that all the time. Huey Lewis had so many hits, that it's sometimes when we do shorter concerts, it's like you're cutting songs that you lament to have to not be part of your show. But ultimately, like I said, I think I would just put it that way. The show has taken form based on the feedback from the Journey fans alike and friends of DSB that keep coming to the concerts year after year.
And do you essentially put the sets together?
Well, I do sing, and the reason I say that is because we're covering a time span of about 30 years, and Infinity Steve Perry is very different from Frontier Steve Perry.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to arc the show in a way where I can't go 100% gas through the very first half of the set.
Right.
What's going to be left? You have to. It's like anything else. You want, if you structure it much like a television drama or thriller, there's exposition, and then there's climax, and then there's, denouement or resolution, however you want to put it. You want to have an arc. And when it comes to myself, when I put the sets together, including getting some of the feedback from people online, I have that in mind. So I have my songs that I call them break songs, even though they're not really breaks, because I still got to sing, but they're not as taxing. So I can kind of let off the gas and let things float. And then in preparation for the one that's going to really squeeze, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. And that goes to the whole point of the production in the show is there's the ebb and flow. You come out with some bangers, you blow the roof off the place to get the place going. You take them on a little bit of a ride, and then you close out with some strong stuff again. And you got the highlights in the middle. So, and yes, you're right. As the frontman, as the singer, you've got to find a flow that works vocally for you and doesn't destroy you, especially if you've got a show the next night and possibly the next night.
Yeah.
Possibly the next night.
That's true.
Yeah. So it is a high demand. So when you're creating the list, and I know that because Journey is one of those bands that there's a lot of hits, man. And so do you guys have a preferred kind of set length? Do you have a preferred show format that you like to gravitate towards when you book?
Our typical thing is 75 to 90 minutes. That's typically what we do. I've been blessed over the years to have some very talented singers other than myself in the band, which lends itself really well to incorporating some of the even earlier tunes when Greg Raleigh was back singing back off of Infinity back in 78. So Henry will step up and sing the Greg Raleigh parts, and then I still do the stuff that Perry came in on. So we like to incorporate those as well, because then you're bringing, like I said, we're trying to cover the 30 years that Perry was technically 20 that he was a part of the band. But in terms of the history, we'd like to hit on the discography that whether it be, we do everything off of Journey's Greatest Hits 1, and Journey's one of those bands that has 2 Greatest Hits volumes. So, and we do pretty much all of Greatest Hits 2 as well. And then we do some songs that are just for us, songs like Escape, songs like,
right.
Every now and again, we'll do songs that are gratifying and fulfilling artistically for us as well.
Do you do any of his solo stuff?
We do. Oh Sherry became a part of our show really early on, because we would play the show, and honestly, people would come up after the show and, you didn't play Oh Sherry. I'm like, it's technically not a Journey song, but it ended up being a part of our show since then. And then just this past year, just here in 2023, I put together you want to talk about love letters, kind of a love letter to Steve Perry. And we did a show over the summertime called For the Love of Steve Perry. And that features just the songs of Steve Perry from his solo career.
Wow.
But that's a little bit different because it's a more scaled down, more acoustic, more of like a Storytellers
Right.
MTV Unplugged type situation versus the regular concert show that we do. So it's nice to have, those two outlets to get this music out.
So how many, when a typical year is going and come and gone, how many shows would you say, or you probably know, how many shows are you doing a year?
Well, 2019 was kind of a banner year for us. That was things just kind of peaked there, and we kind of had a little bit more than we probably could do logistically. We did about 150 that year. So since then, we've, obviously something happened in the middle there. So we've scaled back a little bit, but we're on our way back and we're about 130 a year now. Yeah.
I think there's everybody's
But
feeling that slight ramp up kind of thing. So yeah, that totally
it's
makes
more of a rev though, to be honest. It's like people rev into it and then they scale back and they rev into it and still scale back. But this year 2024 feels a little bit different,
So
a
let
little
me
bit
ask you
different.
this, and this is only because this has been something this has been in my mind. And it's funny because anybody who's watched any episode of this show knows that I use Journey tribute a lot as kind of a running gag. That there's a lot of Journey tributes. I always use that as the barometer. I'm like, man, until we get to the level of DSB, we're still not even close to a level like these guys. And I don't just mean in terms of gigs. I just mean in terms of a respect kind of nature thing. This is just a question I have personally. Did the TV show Glee help you in any way, shape, or form? And did that already happened before you guys really got up and running?
Man, I gotta tell you, like I said, I got involved in this in 2006. So I came into it riding that wave that was originally created. It started with 2003, the movie Monster. They utilized "Don't Stop Believing" in the movie Monster,
Oh,
the
okay.
one with Charlize Theron, and then that turned into 2005. I think it was Family Guy, maybe it was 2004, Family Guy, and then The Sopranos in 2005.
Yeah.
So when I came in 2006, I mean, granted, like I said, I just answered an audition. I had only sung Journey karaoke or in, Howl at the Moon type situations in the past. So when I did my first show, my very first show was at City Walk in Universal City, and I saw that reaction that we got. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
like this could really be something because we were really tapping into, that time. We're tapping into something that was about to explode or
Right.
was exploding at the time.
There's the pop culture aspect of the whole thing. The fact that it's separate from the music.
Right.
That song was a stadium anthem already kind of thing. It had weaved its way into
Right.
pop culture versus just being a big Journey song. And so it became
Correct.
something bigger than Journey. And kind of like, I was talking to Mike from Queen Nation. When the Queen movie
Yeah.
came out, he's like, man, all of a sudden our concerts, we had a whole new set of fans at these shows. And they were all under 30 years old because they'd seen the movie.
Yeah.
And
I remember we were on a show right before with Queen Nation before the movie came out, and there was just kind of this anxiety. I don't want to say anxiety, like hope. I was like, wow, things are going to change real soon because this movie is going to be huge,
Yeah.
and you guys are just going to blow up even bigger than you guys were before.
yeah.
So that I'm happy for their success as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're able to get something that translates, like I said, through pop culture and becomes iconic outside of the band itself, it just helps that whole base of fan base. It just grows it. So it's been 15 years. So 2024 is the 15-year anniversary of you guys being officially DSB. And so what's the plan for 2024 if you want to touch on any of that stuff?
Man, we got so many great opportunities that have come about. We traveled a lot this last year. This year, I can say we're being invited back to Michigan. We'll be in Maryland again. We'll be down in Florida again. But our relationship with the cruise line Royal Caribbean has been a very, very it's been just a wonderful, wonderful, mutually beneficial relationship. We started with them back in 2014, and they send us out about once a month on cruises. But things have kind of slowed down a little bit for the tribute scene aboard their ships. But because of our longstanding relationship with them, we're continuing, and we're doing. We're actually going to be on the newest, biggest. It's going to be the biggest ship in the world. It's called the Icon of the Seas. It is fantastic. It's going to be the only ship that's on the water in the world that runs on natural gas, and
wow.
it's gonna have a lot of there'll be a lot of fanfare, a lot of that. And we're just excited to be a part of the launch of that and be on many sailings with that coming in 24, and then also Utopia of the Seas is another contract that we'll be doing frequently in the latter half of 2024. But aside from that, I kind of want to get back to our roots, to be honest. This band was bred from word of mouth. And the way we accomplished that came from doing a lot of summer concerts in the park. And that for me is probably one of the most gratifying show environments that we get to participate in, because there's people of all ages, and it's fun to watch everyone together, whether it be young, not so young, however it is. But the music of Journey is one of those, it's the type of music that brings people together, and people of all ages enjoy it. So I'd like to, over the last couple of years, we've been traveling so much that we haven't done as many. But if you're out there and you're listening and you want to contact us about possibly bringing us to your city, I think it's more likely this year than it has been in the recent past, because it is our 15th anniversary, and we want to give back in that way and be a part of getting back to our roots.
So if you don't mind me kind of touching on another subject, and hopefully it's not too touchy, but I think it's important for other bands to hear this. We've already kind of talked about the fact that it isn't about looking like them, but Sure. It is about sounding like them. Sure. Journey, again, going back to my running gag about Journey, there are a lot of Journey tributes. There's a lot. And so, what is it that you think, I'll be honest, I've seen a lot online. I haven't seen a lot of them live. I've seen a lot online, and like a lot of bands, if you get a lot of tributes, at some point the quality does start to drop. But what do you think it is about DSB that, because you guys are clearly at if not the front of the line, you're right there. I think you guys are leading the way on this. What is it you think that is the reason you guys have attained a level when there are so many bands doing the same tribute? Do you have a reason, or do you think there's
you have to? I think there's definitely a reason. I think, again, it's having that clear vision from the beginning, because that influences every decision you make after that. As guiding your band and so forth, it's important. You want to posture yourself and put yourself in you want to have visibility. You want to be, if you're turning down work because you're not making the money that you'd like to make, then nobody's seeing you. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to see it or hear it, doesn't make a sound. It's kind of that same concept. So the idea, if you're going to get out and play for less than optimum situations, then I believe that you have to be strategic about where you go do that. You want to be visible, not just in your hometown, but you want to be visible in places Right. where it could lead to other things. Our philosophy has always been that gigs breed gigs. So you got to get out and you just got to do it. Number one. Aside from that, I think, our love of doing, we've been fortunate enough to do this full time since 2010, really 2009 ish. So that's one of those things too. It's like that thirst and that drive is there, because if the calendar is not happening, we don't make any money. So we have to get out and do what we love to do. And again, I don't like to say it that way, because it's not a money grab. It's not that situation. But as musicians we come from original music, everyone in the band, we've all had our projects, our record deals, and all that kind of stuff. And frankly, if you've ever been in that situation, I don't know if you have or not, but if you've ever been in that situation, that you have zero control in many situations. You don't have any control, and therefore, the reason you're doing some things, at least speaking personally, you get away from that. And my love for the stage is what drives me. And as long as I have the opportunity to do that, I'm gonna pursue that. So when it comes to, like, I think the original question was how or why we stick out versus other bands. I would say that I think consistency in your product. I think refining, like I mentioned before, refining and getting the music part out of the way, and then getting out and playing it as much as possible. I think that only breeds positivity and visibility.
Yeah,
so I think more than anyone else, possibly. I think I don't know about other Journey tributes, but I don't know that there are other Journey tributes that play as often as we do.
Right. Well, I think that's probably safe to say. I think,
yeah. But that's what I mean is you have to do that.
And that's
you have to do that to be visible.
It's a key point, because it's funny that you mentioned about you got to be out there. You got to play. And I know you use the word strategic, and you want to say yes to gigs, but it's something you told me a long time ago when I first met you face to face. You had played in my hometown in Temecula, California, at the theater here, and I got a
Yeah.
chance to see you after the show, and I just said, what does it take to be where you are? And you essentially said that. You said, say yes to all the gigs you can. So I know that's where the strategic part, it's important, but like you said, it's like we were committed to being out there and playing all the gigs we could.
Yeah.
That made sense. And even sometimes where you look back and you go, yeah, I may not have said yes to that now, but at the time, yeah, that's a yes. And because we got to play, it's either a place we haven't played, it's somebody we haven't played for, it's a venue we haven't been to, it's a city we haven't been to. And I think that may be the reason you guys and bands like you at your level are at the level you're at. And I think what a lot of other bands may get hung up on is they may say, yeah, we look a lot like a band. And it's like, yeah, but you don't sound like them, or you're not paying attention to detail like they are, or you feel like you can say no to a lot of shows early on. And all you're doing ultimately is hurting yourself.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. Raj. Fundamentally, there's that saying, fake it till you make it. And I think that sets you up. It puts you in it traps you, because I believe you gotta make it so you don't have to fake it. You know what I mean? And I think when you approach it that way, and by making it, I'm again back to putting the time in and getting and making sure your show is tight, musically, visually, whatever that is. Once that work is done, then you hopefully won't have to fake it.
Yeah. No, I think it's all really great advice. Obviously, you are blessed with a voice that is powerful, unique, and sounds like Steve Perry. So are you working to do kind of Steve Perry if you sang in a natural voice? When we hear you on stage with DSB, is that your voice, or are you kind of Steve Perrying it a little bit?
It's definitely my voice. Ever since I was, in my 20s and singing karaoke, whatever, it didn't matter what I sang. I could sing Richard Marx, I could sing Foreigner, I could sing whatever, and people would be like, you sound like Steve Perry. So there's a certain part of my voice where it lends itself to that, but I'm also a classically trained singer. So when it comes for me, yes, it is work, but I'm not working to sound like Perry. I phrase things the way he does, because that's what the song, listen to anybody sing Don't Stop Believing, and everybody will go, hold on to that feeling. Everybody will do feeling. Everybody will do that. Why? Because that's the phrasing that was recorded and that everybody knows. So in that sense, I do those things. Ooh, I want to be there, yeah. The same thing. That's how he does it. But truthfully, from what I know about Steve Perry, his influences were the same as mine. I grew up, I loved Marvin Gaye, loved Sam Cooke. I love these classic singers that he was influenced by. He had a lot of Motown influence. So it's only natural that I feel like there's some, in terms of musically, I'm a little symbiotic when it comes to his influences and my influences. And I think when I sing the Journey stuff, like I said, I try to do it with integrity. So I'm going to sing it the way he sings it in the keys that he sang it.
That's impressive. It's just really impressive.
Just to get that out there.
Yeah, no. Hey, I think that's a great jump off point. So let's take a look at a recent promo video of you guys. Let's take a couple minutes, watch DSB. If you're on YouTube, you can watch them. If you're just listening on Spotify or anywhere you're getting your podcast, you can hear it. And let's face it, if you close your eyes anyway, you're going to hear Journey. So let's not waste any time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSB. This is their promo video. We'll come right back after the video.
Make some noise for DSB! Don't stop believing. When the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay, we try, loving, touching, squeezing. Someday love will find you, break those chains and bind you. Wheel in the sky keeps on turning. Oh, I don't know, we're all in tonight. Wheel in the sky keeps on turning. Oh, I don't know, so here I am with open arms, hoping you'll see what your love means to me. Open arms. 1, 2, 3, go.
Did I tell you? That is DSB. Everybody, come on, man. You got to be kidding me. They play all over the country. So please go to dsbband.com and find out when they're playing somewhere near you and take somebody, because you will absolutely feel like you were just at a Journey concert. You really will. It's an amazing show. It's still one of my favorite tributes. It's a band I still refer to when I try to get our band to that next level. So, Juan, I appreciate all the work you've put into this, and just know that it means a lot.
Thank you for having me on, and it means a lot to me too to be here with you and to be talking tributes, which is that's our life, and you have a fantastic band yourself, and I've always been a huge fan of Huey Lewis and the News. Ever since I was 10 years old when that movie came out. And that movie, to this day, is my favorite movie of all time. And the music that came from that, I think I was probably the only 10-year-old walking around singing Back in Time. I was that much of a fan. But you guys absolutely kill it. I've never heard a band as good as you guys do, Huey Lewis and the News. You're fantastic. You're a great frontman. And it's funny because you were asking me, does my voice lend itself to Steve Perry? People often tell me that when my speaking voice even sounds like Steve Perry sometimes, but your speaking voice, hello, and your singing voice.
I get that. Now, his voice, the thing is when I was in cover bands, I would tweak my voice to sound like whoever the song was. So I would kind of do a mimic thing. And Huey is closer to my natural, but he's got more rasp than I do. So I have to kind of rough it up a little bit, which can be a challenge night after night a little bit. And his songs are deceptively high for being a baritone. Yes, they are. Yeah, for being a baritone singer. He's got some high parts in there. So it's been fun. And,
I go back even to what was the acapella song that he did too? It's All Right.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the old R&B too.
Yeah,
it's all right, yeah.
I spent the 90s singing in a cappella groups. That's how much.
I'm sure nobody made fun of you in high school for that at all.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, but
look at you now. That means a ton, Juan. It really does. I mean, we were fortunate enough to actually meet some real members of Huey Lewis, and one of them came and saw our show recently, and he just said, dude, I've stood behind Huey Lewis for 40 plus years. You look and sound and move so much like him. It's creepy. So
amazing.
It means a lot when somebody like that does it, but also somebody like you who's literally doing this for a living. It does mean a lot. So I really appreciate that very much.
I think you bring a genuine quality to your performance, and I think as a tribute artist, I think that's God. Here we are again talking about. I think it's important to be authentic, and if you believe that wearing a wig or whatever, that helps you be authentic. As long as you're authentic, it shouldn't matter.
I think that's a great point. And I think in a way that may, in a very small way, kind of sum up why your band is where it's at versus maybe other Journeys, or why just a tribute band in general might surpass others. Is I think there's an authenticity to what it is. There's a genuine love and appreciation for what you're tributing. It's not a money grab. It's not, hey, this is a hot thing, or there isn't a tribute to this band in my town, so let's do that. It's because your thing was I'm blessed to kind of sound like Steve Perry. So I think that's going to be a market I can corner. I happen to look and sound like Huey Lewis. He was not on my Walkman in the 80s. I liked him. I owned his albums, and I really did enjoy him, but he wasn't my go-to. But as I got older and we hit this point where somebody said, you kind of sound like Huey Lewis, and then I started to tweak a few things on the look, and I didn't have to go to a wig. We didn't have to go cheesy. We didn't have to go corny or shticky, which is, I think, is why the real band appreciates what we do. It's a love and it's authentic. I love that band now. I listen to them all the time just for fun because they had so many great songs. So
many. Yeah.
Talk to me just about tributes in general. And you've been now in it for going on 20 years now. And it really has been in this 20 years that tributes became, I guess you could say we're in the golden era of tributes, and who knows how long it'll go. What is it about tributes in general that became so popular?
Well, I think a big part of it, obviously that avenue has always been there with the, Elvis impersonators and the Beatles impersonators, but something did change. And I think what changed, was some of these bands dissolving over time. And the only way you could go hear that particular music in a live setting is if you went and saw a tribute band or a fantastic, a cover band that did it extremely well. But for the most part, if you go see Zeppelin again, if you go see, Queen Nation, those are, rest in peace, Freddie Mercury. It's one of those things where you can't see that anymore. And there's incredible musicians out there doing it now. I know Adam Lambert's on stage doing it with him now, and Mark Martell's another guy who's out there killing the Queen stuff. But ultimately, if you don't just want to hear the music in your headphones or watch it on TV, you want to hear it in a live setting. And I think tribute bands step right in to fill that void.
I think you're 100% right, which is, I always find it a little bit interesting when I see tributes to current touring artists, and they're obviously booking and they're successful and they're doing well, but it does feel like that legacy artist, somebody from a Beatles, Rolling Stones, and although the Rolling Stones are touring, I think there's a lot of folks that'll say, yeah, but the difference between a tribute band and even a touring band from the 60s and 70s is the tribute is sticking to the hits, the full version as we remember them. I don't think anybody's going to say I'd rather see a tribute Rolling Stones versus the real Rolling Stones. That's still a bucket list item for a lot of folks.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But let's face it, the tribute is going to play the hits as you remember them. You guys are doing the songs as they remember your journey musically in their prime. That's kind of what you're recreating.
Yeah, we focus a lot on the 81 to 83 timeframe. That really is their prime. They were one of the bands that were tabbed to launch music television at the time, as it was called. That became MTV, and they were right there, and supporting that impact that channel made. I think that's it. It's a situation, where you can't see the bands that you revered as a young person anymore. And if you're kind of getting your fix in that way by seeing a tribute band, that's great. And for the bands that are out there we're one of them. Like I said, Journey's out there touring now. But I think, they're not coming to your city, but DSB might.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And do not miss them. Juan, it's a great band. It's a phenomenal,
thank you, Roger,
project that you've put together. And I know it's a ton of work. I know it's been paying off for you guys, and I really appreciate all that you're doing. I think that's part of the reason too, tributes might be what they are in this golden era, if we're going to call it that. Maybe we'll look back and this was it, but it's because of bands like you that elevated it. And you got away from shtick, you got away from corny, you got away from wigs, and you focused on the music, and you focused on performing it at the highest level. And I think venues, booking managers kind of started to go, you know what? I think there's a real avenue here of some quality entertainment that people can't see live anymore, or at least the way they remember it. And I think that's part of what
I agree.
you guys have created. So thanks for being there so long ago. Thanks for continuing to do what you do. I hope we can do a show sometime together, man. I'd love to.
It's a must. We have to. We have to. And then I'm going to be on the side there watching you kill it, because I love every song. Maybe I'll come up and sing backgrounds on Do You Believe in Us? I love that song. I love that. But, I think there's a lot of opportunity there for our bands to possibly coexist on the same stage, because it's during that golden era of the
80s
best
MTV,
music, the best decade.
It's big,
amazing.
bright, colorful, fun. Give me all the ways we can find you. Obviously, it's dsbband.com.
DSBband.com.
And then everything else
across
social media
all social
is all at
DSB Band.
DSB Band. You'll find them on Facebook,
at DSB
Instagram, TikTok,
SoundCloud, even TikTok. We're kind of, that's one of those that our audience is not so much as into that as some of the younger audience. So we're kind of finding a way to integrate that. But, obviously Facebook and Instagram are still, the main place.
Look for at DSB Band on any of the social medias. If they're there, you'll find them. The website is
and for those of you who have For those of you who have seen us and maybe aren't engaging with us regularly, there's a group. I don't like to call it a fan club. There's a group called DSB Faithful, and they've always been so supportive. Anitra Harrison heads that up, and it's been a wonderful supplement for this band in terms of lifting us up and carrying us through even some of the toughest times.
I think the fact that you just brought up the fan club, I think that was a key point that I wanted to make sure and brought up. And I know we're at the end of the show here, but
sure,
you are one of those few tribute bands that you literally have your own following. And I think that is a very unique thing in this world of tributes, that you've built your own specific fan base. These aren't just Journey fans. These are DSB fans.
I go DSB friends, as we like
friends,
to call
there
them.
you go.
The thing is kind of getting back to what you were saying, like what distinguishes DSB from everybody else, and truthfully, I think when they look at the pictures or whatever and so forth, and they see, I think the first time people come to a show, a DSB show, I think they're just trying to see if the singer, myself, if I can do what is expected. But then after that, if they come back, because we've won them over that first time, that surprise or that wow factor that hits them, and they're not understanding what they're hearing. If that is successful, then they don't only come back for me, but they come back to see, maybe they've become enamored with the keyboard player, or they love the bassist, or they love the drummer, whatever the situation is. Danny and Henry and Mike all, and even Jay, like they in a sense develop their own visibility amongst groups of people as well, and it becomes more of an ensemble thing. And that's something I've always pushed from the beginning, is that I don't need to carry that weight all by myself for other lead singers that are out there. It's make sure that you're giving reverence to those people who sometimes stand behind you, sometimes stand in front of you, but they're always on stage with you, and you couldn't do it without them.
You know what? It's authenticity. And I think that's a great word to wrap this up on. You guys are doing it authentically. You're genuine. You're real. And I really appreciate what you guys are doing. So thanks, Juan, for being on the show. Very much appreciate it.
My pleasure, Roger.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
All the best to you, man. In the new year, congratulations. Happy anniversary early. Keep us posted.
Thanks, man.
Keep us posted on any big shows you've got things, and we'll make sure to announce that on some other future episodes this year. So
absolutely,
let us know what's going on, man. It's DSB. Definitely. The world's greatest Journey tribute band, and I will back that up 1,000% anytime in a court of law. I'm going to use it.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
at
very
dsbband.com is where you're going to find them, or dsbband.com, and then all the social media is at dsbband. Juan, thanks again, buddy.
That's right. Thanks so much, Roger. Have a wonderful rest of the year, and Happy New Year and all that good stuff.
Thanks, man.
It's going to be a good one.
All the best to you in 2024, buddy. And thanks again, man. It means a lot. Have a great night, and we'll talk again soon.
Likewise, man. You too.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out on this episode. We will see you again next week on the Ultimate Tribute Band podcast. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and tell at least one person. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks. Have a great night.